Good morning. I'm calling the meeting of the Academic Affairs, Student Life, and Athletics Committee to order, and I do not have any opening remarks. Mr. President, do you have anything you want to open with?
No, Madam Chair.
Okay, so we'll have roll call.
Trustee Baker? Here. Trustee Boyd? Trustee Cottle?
Here.
Trustee DeLay?
Here.
Trustee Jacobs? Chairman Smith?
Here.
Vice Chair Carboyak? Trustee Wright?
Here.
Trustee Carpenter?
Present.
General Uber? Here. Mr. Massara? Here. We have a quorum.
Have a quorum. Thank you. So the first item is approval of minutes. Everyone's had a chance to review those. Do I have a motion to approve the minutes?
So moved.
Second.
All right, a motion and second. Is there any discussion? All right, all those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed? All right, the motion carries for approval of the minutes. Now, we have two action items today and lots of information items. So Provost Burns will present our approval of appointment of the Chair of Excellence for the Robert E. and Georgiana West Russell Chair of Excellence.
Great. Thank you to, wow, voice of God this morning. Thank you, Chairman Wright. This is a fairly late hire. You know, these chairs of excellence operate on a different schedule, and we did not get through the entire expedited tenure process. And so, in consultation with the president, we thought it would be better with your, the board's permission, if instead of you approving the appointment and not tenure, if we just waited until December and the board took it up as an action item then to approve both the appointment and the tenure. There's no problem in the process, it's just we didn't have time to get it done. And when it comes to tenure, as you know, we try to dot every I and cross every T. So that would be our request.
All right, and is there a motion for approval of the appointment of the Chair of Excellence?
Ma'am, what we're asking is just to hold off on both, and if we can, I wasn't clear on that, to hold off on the appointment and on the tenure. It just makes more sense to do them both together, we think. And plus, we want to make sure that we want to tenure him. Now, I don't think there's going to be any doubt, but we just have not had time to get through that process. His start date is scheduled to be January 1, so we think it's important to do it in December, but we asked just if we take no action today with the understanding that this item will come back at the full board meeting and you'll consider it then. That's our request. Dr. McPhee, did I get that right?
All right, thank you.
Will he be here for us to meet?
Dean Van Patten was here. I don't know if he'll be in town yet or not. We'll certainly try to make that happen. Yeah.
All right, so Provost Burns, are you now approving or
Right.
presenting the approval of
Right.
degrees under consideration?
Yes, thank you for your understanding on that previous item. Today, I bring two potential degrees for your consideration. Again, as a reminder, we bring these to you at the front end of the process and at the back end. And so these are degrees that have not yet been fully formed or fully developed, but we want to give you a heads up and get your blessing on them before we go too far down the road. First, as you know, I think from previous discussions, we're very interested in increasing the number of online master's degrees, particularly those that have a clear workforce tie. And that's what this Master of Science in Occupational Innovation and Effectiveness is. It's a 30-hour online program that primarily aimed at working professionals who can construct blocks of courses in related subjects, put them together, and earn a degree. So it's designed to be as flexible as possible and allow the student to pick the courses that's going to be most helpful to him or her in the workforce. So that's the master's. I don't know if you want to have discussion
Thinking we
for
might
both.
do them separately.
Okay.
As a vote separately. So I think I'll go on and entertain a motion. for that. So, and then we'll have discussion. So is there a motion to approve the degree under consideration of the Master of Science in Occupational Innovation and Effectiveness?
So moved.
And
Second.
is there a second?
Second.
Okay, any discussion? All right, all those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed? No? Anybody no? Okay, so that motion passes, and now we will discuss the Master of Science in Legal Studies.
Thank you. The Master of Science in Legal Studies, we're really excited about this. This is a partnership between us and the Nashville School of Law. And we've been in conversation with them for a while. Amy Aldridge Sanford, who's the Vice Provost for Academic Programs, has been key in those discussions. This is a master's degree. It's not a law degree. This is not designed for students who want to become practicing attorneys. It's designed for people who have an interest in the law, want to work in the legal field, but don't have the desire to do the whole full three-year law degree. Primarily, and we've talked at length with Dean Koch at the Nashville School of Law and some of his board members about this. He is totally convinced there's a market for this for individuals, many of whom would work in corporations, corporate legal departments, who wouldn't be the lawyer per se, but would be doing a lot of the document work and support work for the attorneys. So this represents, we think, a partnership that's really exciting. It'll be an MTSU degree taught at the Nashville School of Law campus in Nashville, and you see some other information there. As we do on all new program ideas, we did commission a feasibility study, and as the results were positive for the prior degree, they were also positive for this degree.
Madam Chair, may I just add a comment to the Provost's remarks? He's absolutely correct, but I also want to remind the board that the chairman and I have been having conversations with our colleagues at the Nashville School of Law about strengthening the partnership between the university, and the feedback we've gotten, as the provost has said, is very positive. So this is really a first step in that direction.
That's very exciting. So, thank you. And I know everybody's had a chance to review the materials even prior to today. So is there a motion?
So moved.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
That was fast. Any discussion?
I had one quick question. I see it's actually a three-pronged. It's MTSU, but it's a cross-collaboration between media and entertainment and the College of
Yes.
Business, right?
There'll
So
be-
that means a lot. Do we have any other programs like that are crossover between colleges?
We do. Oh, yeah. There are
Sure.
quite a few at the master's level, especially.
Sure.
But yeah, that's an exciting element. You know, we decided, again, in consultation with the Nashville School of Law folks, it made sense to focus our efforts in a couple of different concentrations. And the ones that are listed there, we thought made the most sense because we're in Nashville and because of market needs. And again, that was borne out by the study done by Hanover.
That's great.
So, Mr. Provost, where did we find the outline for this particular degree?
It exists at other schools in various formats, so we're not inventing this, from scratch. There's really no competition in the immediate area, and so the broad concept is already out there. We're fleshing out the details of what this particular program would look like with our faculty, particularly in the College of Business and the College of Media and Entertainment, and with Dean Koch and his faculty. So I think it's going to be really good.
I might add a word that we've been in continuous and constant conversation, not about this program necessarily, but about the feasibility of holding hands with Nashville School of Law. And Dr. McPhee has done a good job, an excellent job, because Nashville School of Law has a tremendous tradition. And my goal, and I know it's McPhee's goal, that there be we're starting to date, and there might be a better and more full relationship before. There are all kind of hurdles that are necessary to do. I think 50 years ago, there were maybe 70 or 80 night law schools in the United States, and now there's 3 or 4. So I think we have an excellent chance of continuing to work together, but their chairman and myself and their dean and Dr. McPhee we've worried them to death. So we're consistently trying to pursue something for better schools.
Well, that's a great thing. Based on local experience, we're going to be turning out students or these people that have a little bit of this expertise, because there's a hole in the market in that creative side, which is what Nashville's known for nationwide, is creativity. So this intellectual property is going to be a big part of that, I would imagine. Yeah.
We've sent a lot of our own graduates to Nashville School of Law for years, and they're out there doing great things. So
I vote for it.
Exciting. All right, we have a motion and a second. Great discussion. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? All right, the motion carries. So now that ends our action items, and we're ready for some information items. So Provost Burns, MTSU Online Report.
thank you. This report is in response to a question made by Mr. Baker at the last meeting. So I'll go through this pretty quickly. I think we've given you, or will give you, a paper copy if you want to study it more closely. Yes, we have done that. So MTSU Online, where are we? Okay. This always happens. Luckily, I will not be teaching these online classes since I cannot get the PowerPoint to advance.
That's everybody.
Bill Blue, we're in favor of that? Why don't I just talk?
Use your
If
lifeline.
you flip to the first page, you'll see just the growth in our fully online programs. That's something the president has been very clear with us, is that,
That's not it.
no, that's not it. You know, one rule of teaching is you never give a handout and then start talking, because no one is listening to you. They're looking at the handout. There we go. Robert, can I use this to advance? Okay, awesome. So there we go. Number of fully online programs. So in the last 3 years, we have doubled that number. And first off, let me give a shout out to the University College, which is really doing the yeoman's work here. We have Associate Dean John Birchfield and the Director of Assessment and Accreditation, Lane Bryant, who prepared this presentation. Dean Sluter is out sick, but he and his team have done a great job. Trey Martindale, our Chief Online Learning Officer, are all doing great work in this area in conjunction with the colleges. So the number of programs are going up, and we're excited about that, and we have plans to continue that, not in a willy-nilly fashion, but we're making sure that there's a demand for everything that we do, at least make sure to the degree that we can. So right now we have 17 fully online undergrad programs, 14 fully online graduate programs. Here, this is a chart just showing you what has happened to online enrollments. And you can see the trend is a very positive one. Now that one, the third from the right, that spike, that was our COVID year. So that's an unnaturally inflated number. But what excites me is that when we came back down to post-COVID, it didn't come all the way back down to the pre-COVID. It's still higher. And the last bar is fall 2022, and we're still a little bit higher. So we expect that trend to continue. There's a demand out there. We all know that for online, and we're doing our best to grow the program in a way that we think is sustainable and that will meet what the market is asking for. What one interesting question is, okay, it's great. We've got a lot more online enrollment. We have more online programs. How many students are exclusively taking online? And that's what this chart shows you. In fall 19, there were 883 students exclusively taking online courses. As they took no on-ground courses, they could be living in Alaska for all we know. They're taking fully online. And then 5743 were partially online. That's the thing that I think we've talked about in here before, but it's important to keep in mind that so far most of the online courses are taken by students who are also taking on-ground courses. for matters of convenience or instructor or a variety of reasons. So this fall, you'll see a growth in the number on both numbers. Exclusively online has about doubled in the past 3 years. That is, students only taking online, the number has doubled in the last 3 years. And almost half of undergraduates took at least, are taking at least one online course this semester. So, again, I think it's pretty clear evidence that we're doing the right thing by focusing on this. This one's going to be a little bit hard to see on the screen, but, and this gets more toward Mr. Baker was asking about in terms of online and how does that affect housing and other sort of campus services that we offer. That is, what level, freshman, sophomore, junior, senior, grad, are taking these online courses, and that's what this chart shows you. On the left, you'll see of those taking exclusively online courses, nearly half of them are juniors and seniors. Well, no, 3/4 of them are juniors and seniors. Nearly half are seniors. So a lot of these exclusively online folks are completing their degrees, and they're able to do so because the major courses are available. And then on the right, same chart, by classification, what are our partially online students taking? A little bit less dramatic, but it's still the juniors and seniors who are taking the majority of those classes. There are, however, let me go back. Do I have the technology to go back? Yes. There are some, look at that first chart. Well, I have it in front of me. Of the exclusively online, we have 5% are freshmen. So there are some brand-new students, not a huge number, but there's some brand-new students taking exclusively online courses. I don't personally think, now we need to do more study, that means we shouldn't, think about housing anymore because of online. I don't think we're there yet, but there are freshmen taking exclusively online courses. Now, there's all sorts of ramifications for that, and I'll save that discussion for questions or another time. Part-time, full-time, this chart gives you a glance at that. Of the exclusively online students, 57%, it's pretty even split, but 57% are part-time, 43% are full-time, and then in the partially online, it's 91 to, I'm sorry, I can't, the problem is I can't read the screen or my paper, so if I look like I'm fumbling, it's because my general.
You can't see that?
Well, I can see there's some circles up there.
I understand that.
So the partially online students are primarily full-time students. And then last slide. What about the age of our undergraduate population? The head count, that is the number of students taking them, is divided almost evenly between traditional college-age student, which we define as under 25, and non-traditional over 25. So that was interesting. It's not just all returning adults. That's a lot of them, but it's not exclusively that. A lot of traditional age college students are taking online courses. Interesting in light of all the discussion we've had about the effects of COVID and how these are regular college-age students had, online in high school and therefore hate online now. That's not being borne out by the numbers. Now, there are some ramifications of what happened to them in high school and online, but overall hatred for online does not seem to be one of them. And it really, overall, the message is, yes, we have fully online programs. We're developing them, continuing to grow them, but much of what we do now in online is a supplement for traditional on-ground programs. So that's sort of a quick overview of this area. Be happy to answer any questions or have any discussion. Yeah.
more just observation. In an online world, we're competing with different schools. We're always competing for students with different schools. The juniors and seniors who are supplementing their degrees by taking stuff online makes a lot of sense. As online grows, we have to remember that we're going to be competing with a whole lot of people who have not been our traditional competitors.
Right.
So we've got to make our online learning robust in order to keep those people.
I agree totally, and part of that discussion is what is our tuition rate? And that's a big, I almost said big stinking deal, which is not very professional. It's a big deal because these students who are going to be exclusively online are very price sensitive, and they're, like you said, Mr. DeLay, they're programs all over the country. So we started to have those conversations about what do we want to do for tuition for exclusively online students. We already have an E-rate for them, which is a reduced rate, but do we need to do more than that? So yeah, both academic program quality, that's always first and foremost, but a close second is price.
And
That was going to be my question, and that is, how do we charge? Is there out-of-state charge? I mean, I'm not expecting to stump the stars with questions, but something that goes through my mind. Is there out-of-state charge different? What do we charge? And as a follow-up, not looking for busy work, but I think along with that would be, what are our in this realm, the competitors are worldwide. But I think we'd start with the other LGIs. What do they charge and how do they charge? What do we charge? Do we charge by the hour?
Yeah, by the credit hour, yes, sir. Yeah.
And what is our charge if I
Well-
enroll full-time student and commute, what's my hourly rate?
For online or for,
No, just
if you're
regular.
exclusively online, you have an E-rate, the number of which I will look to Alan to tell me. Or John. Yeah, E-rate is slightly above in-state rate. So you could live in Kentucky, if you're fully online, you're paying not in-state and not out-of-state, much less than out-of-state, but a little bit more than in-state. We call it the E-rate. So it's 25% roughly more than in-state.
Well, maybe the next meeting of this committee, it'd be fun to see what our LGIs are doing.
Yep.
I
I
don't
see
know if
Lane and
that's
John
good or
nodding. We'll come forward with that. It's an interesting question, but it has some really big ramifications in terms of our budget.
Yes.
So, yeah, we'll definitely look at that. One interesting thing that is still true to my knowledge, and y'all tell me if I'm wrong, even though it is an international marketplace, students tend to gravitate toward universities that they know and that are close to them. And I don't pretend to understand the psychology, but there's something about, hey, if I need to drive to campus, I can get there. I don't have to take a flight. Yes, we're fully going after all the students we can, but with the knowledge that many of them still live in our area.
You know, I think for us, a better place for us to compete, or a place for us to compete, is definitely at the high end of the quality spectrum, because some of the online offerings of the variety of people we're competing with probably are not very high quality. And I think we'll have a very hard time competing at the bottom of that barrel. We're better off to compete in the upper echelons.
Agreed, totally. A lot of the proprietary schools that frankly now are having economic trouble and or have closed were those, bottom level is a nice way of putting it.
And I concur with that. Trustee DeLay, University of Phoenix is a good example. They had a storefront operation in Murfreesboro. There are a couple of areas you really have to balance: the quality issue, and certainly I know anytime you're watching television, there is a plethora of online degree universities. You can get a master's degree in 3 months. We have to be really careful with regards to the quality. We don't want to be competing at the lowest common denominator. But at the same time, with the reputation of a major university that's accredited in that market, if we are competitive, without certainly giving away the store, because we still have to operate the university, we still have to finance the university. I think students would much rather get an online degree from a university like MTSU that's competitive, as opposed to, and in most cases, these private institutions, their online fees are very high. And most of the students who take those courses use federal aid, Pell Grant. And one of the reasons you're hearing of the high cost of tuition, when you hear that, it's really dealing with a lot of these for-profit online organizations. So there's a lot of areas that we have to balance, but at the same time, you have to be very much market-driven and very much aggressive, and I think that's what we're trying to do here with our online program.
Okay.
Alan did correct me. I'm sorry.
Well, I have one other question.
Okay.
So, do these students have access to any of the student success and mentoring programs?
Yes, we have.
Is that, could be part of the
Right.
quality and the competitive advantage?
So they're, in our view, they're full students. They're just not here
Okay.
physically. So we're doing the mentoring, we're doing the advising. Now, they're not paying, they're not coming to the rec center or the health services or those sorts of things, but they're getting all the academic support.
Okay.
And that is required by SACS. And when
Yes.
the association comes and review your university, that is an area that they really focus on. And a lot of these for-profit organizations do not have to meet those requirements because they are not accredited.
Okay.
Alan expanded on his earlier answer to me to say that the E-rate is actually about halfway between in-state and out-of-state.
Well, I would assume it's less expensive to teach these classes.
Well, students often think that, but there's a lot of expense involved in developing them. So these days, when online started, it was pretty rudimentary, but these days, there's a lot of work. We have at the university multiple instructional designers to help faculty figure out how to make the courses both look good, function well online, and present the material quickly and efficiently. So I never want to disagree with the chairman, but I'll be a little bit, they're not cheap. And that's one of the things we struggle with students, and particularly as Deb spends much of her free time on Facebook, parents and students think online should be cheaper. Well, except we're still paying the faculty the same amount. We have additional instructional design costs. We have infrastructure costs. So, we'd have to do more of a study for us specifically, but I think generally speaking, if you're putting out a good quality product, as we are, it's not necessarily cheaper. It's certainly true that you're not paying for a classroom space and you're not turning the lights on in that room, but there are other costs that offset that.
I would think a professor could handle a lot more online students than you could in the class.
Well, it sometimes, but not typically, almost always, we expect there to be the same sort of written assignments in an online environment as there would be in class. So if that's the case, then the grading is the same, if not more. In fact, when I talk to online instructors, they say, hey, I'm working harder in this course than I am in an on-ground course because not only am I doing all the same grading of papers, I'm responding to emails, I'm monitoring discussion boards, I'm just managing the class in that online environment. The only way you run up the number is if it's all multiple choice, sort of automated.
That lowers
stuff.
quality as well.
I think so, yeah.
Well, that would be interesting, how many classes you have that and how many you don't. I mean, I don't want you to know now.
Yeah, no, we
Discussion, that'd be interesting to know. How many classes, the ones I took, very few had discussion questions. I mean,
well,
I didn't take any exam on campus that had discussion questions. I mean,
yeah, well, so it's always evolving, and right now, I'm looking at John to make sure I don't get too far off base. The average class size is not that much different, and that was a question I asked last semester. What's the difference? Because we have had endless discussions. What should be the course caps for online courses? that is, should we open it up and let 100 students in to an English composition class? Well, no, because the faculty member's grading the same number of papers per student. So the average class size is quite similar. It might be a little bit bigger for online by a student or two, but it's close to what the on-ground is. And it's really hard to change that without adding additional instructors. So
My personal experience with it is I spend a lot more time on online classes, because anytime there is a discussion like imagine what we're doing right here, that's especially, which we just approved an online master's program. Once you hit master's level, a lot of things are bouncing ideas, you're looking at different students and having these discussions. Problem with online is everything I'm saying, you got to read in order to get the gist of it. So I spend a lot more time on an online class than I do on ground.
And speaking from personal experience, I am fully remote in my master's program, so we do a lot more discussion-based work as opposed to the traditional classroom style of work, just because we are remote. We have to communicate individually, and many of my peers, they are not here, they are not local. So I've tried to share the resources, to Pam's point earlier, the resources that students are afforded through MTSU. They may not be local, but they still have that opportunity to engage in the community.
Is your faculty the same faculty that's teaching on-site? Or do you have some faculty who do not, will not, cannot teach online?
we have some who teach both, some who don't want to touch it, and some who love it. So one thing that I think we learned from the pandemic, including some of the people of, I don't want to make an age thing, people of my level of experience who might have been more skeptical about online, what they learned, many of them learned and have said, hey, you know, you can really do a lot of really cool stuff on the technology has improved so much that I think there's a more acceptance level for even people of my generation where we didn't start out doing that. I would say the newer faculty embrace it almost universally. But yeah, there's some who just prefer the classroom experience and some who'd be happy to do all, and in fact do all online classes.
It's most certainly a different, you have to
Different
change
experience.
modes, because I'm a different person in a on-ground class, and my students read me differently than they do in an online class. And so, but it's two different things. Some people can function in both, some can't.
So Mark, these 20,051 people, which is a lot of bodies, is detached, but yet attached. So how do we market and develop this large body of people as we go forward?
Well, again, most of those are also on campus to some degree. So you've got to keep that in mind, that we have the traditional ways of student activities, student organizations, but it's a good question of how you, for a fully online student, how do you get them connected to the university? There's a lot of messaging, there's mailings, and it's also a different type of student. And I'm on thin ice here, but I don't think that they expect necessarily the same level or type of engagement. Oftentimes, these are people who are sort of laser focused on getting the degree for a career purpose, and they're less concerned about the traditional college experience. Now, again, there are all sorts of ramifications for that, from giving, for one thing. Do they feel that emotional attachment when they leave that they would, we hope, feel after they left an on-ground experience? Well, probably not, frankly.
No, they're not alumni. It'd be hard for alumni association to communicate.
I mean, they are alumni, but do they get misty-eyed when they walk by Peck Hall? I'm not sure anybody gets misty-eyed. I weep a little bit when I walk by, but. But it's a great question, and the online folks do stuff that, I'll get them to write up something. We'll send that to you a little more detailed.
Right, great discussion, thank you. I think, JB, you mentioned at the last committee meeting, we should have an update on that, so that was a really great discussion. Performance metrics, Provost Burns.
Thank you. I don't plan to say much at all about this. This is our annual report to you on metrics. And obviously, my colleagues and I will be happy to answer any questions you have. Let me just point out one or two things. If you look down at academics, the 6-year graduation rate, we're really proud of that.
Yeah.
Even in the midst of the pandemic and everything else, our graduation rate continues to go up. And so for last year, it was 59.8%, according to the THEC method of calculating. So that puts us pretty darn close to our 5-year goal. We're excited about that. So I think that's a point of celebration. And let's see,
That's amazing, so congratulations on that.
Well, thanks to
Really
everybody on
amazing.
campus. I mean, that's an institution-wide effort to make that happen.
Incredible.
And other than that, be happy to answer any questions or to punt to one of my colleagues.
I thought the Pell eligible
That's another.
students
Yep.
is an interesting number. I don't draw a conclusion from that, except half hours are.
Yes.
Well, Dr. McPhee will take pride in that fact when at True Blue Tour, we like the fact that we're
We do.
educating these, well, I'm taking your speech, Dr. McPhee.
No, you're okay. You're the provost. You're in charge of academics. But you're absolutely right, and I think it has other implications when it comes to looking at the demographics and some of the challenges, because you associate that with economic challenges, and many of these students have to work to supplement their educational costs. And so when you look at graduation rates and progression, and you compare it with an institution that has a significantly less Pell-eligible group of students, you can see the difference. But as the provost said, when we do our True Blue Tour, we really focus on, and it's a pride point because these are the majority of our citizens. When you look at the economic level of citizens in Tennessee, they fit this category. So the university is doing an incredible job addressing the needs of the state in terms of that particular demographic group.
And we're also proud, of course, of the academic athletic numbers, which you'll see
Yes.
on page 2.
I think that's unreal. 94% of our athletes graduate.
Well, we're proud of a lot of things about the university, but I think that's as important as any of them. So thank you.
What percentage of athletes are Pell? Do you know that? That'd be interesting for a
Yeah.
follow-up, just because if it is what I suspect, more than our regular average, then the graduation rate's even more important. That you graduate Pell children, they're not children, but Pell students at a higher rate than the schools graduate.
I agree with that, Mr. Chairman, and I would, I'm not a betting person, but if I had a farm, I would bet the farm that that percentage of Pell-eligible students at the athletic level will be much higher than the university.
If it does, it makes 94% more.
Even more and more.
remarkable. And if it's the same, makes it still remarkable because they got other things on, they're working too, just not for,
I do think you have to factor in, Chris, and I think you'll find this, the fact that they're on scholarship doesn't necessarily mean that they're not Pell eligible. So when you factor that out, that's when I think you'll see that number increase significantly.
If I can brag about one more thing, it would be retention. At the bottom of the first page, I think the numbers speak for themselves. For an institution like ours, those are good numbers. We're always pushing with our student success folks to increase them, but I'm really pleased with those percentages.
Right, a lot to be proud of. So, any other discussion on the performance metrics, or if not, we will move to enrollment report with Deb Sales.
Is it possible that Chris can work up something and be sure that he sends a message from the Board of Trustees that we're proud of the academic numbers and all the people that contribute towards that every day? A special note from the board?
You certainly can do that.
Yes, sir, we can relay that. And thank you for that.
I'm going to try to avoid Mark's problem by actually bringing my whole computer up here so I can see what's in front of me. And we're going to hope here. There we go. So I've been asked to talk a little bit about our enrollment, and I know you guys have already seen, and we've had multiple conversations about our most recent fall enrollment numbers. I want to just highlight a couple of things on that, and then we're going to turn our attention to what we're doing for the upcoming year. This first slide walks you through particularly new student enrollment, and there are some areas there that I think are helpful for us to take a look at. I also included at the top, and I know you guys all have these in your folder, what was going on in the different years that we're looking at. So 2019 was the year we made a massive investment in our guaranteed freshman scholarships. Fall of 2020 was the first year we came back to school in the midst of COVID, and so we were almost entirely online. Fall of 2021 was when we began to be back on campus in person. This fall, we were up in first-time freshmen, up in the other new undergraduate category, which is sort of a catch-all for students who are coming back for a second degree and that sort of thing. We are up significantly in new dual enrollment students, and so our total new student numbers this fall were up, and that's good news for us, and I think bodes well for the future. I want to talk a little bit more about what the chairman pointed out with regard to special populations. We look particularly at our biggest competitor, UT Knoxville, and we have been watching the percentage of Pell-eligible students. We usually get those out of the THEC fact book. That won't come out for another few months for this current year, but they have publicly published some of their statistics in newspapers and so on, and so we've been able to pick up on those. Of course, as you saw, we're way ahead of them in terms of the number of Pell-eligible students that we serve. We also serve a much larger percentage of adult students than Knoxville does. African-American students, that's missing, but that student word is African-American students, and then Hispanic students, and the number we serve versus them, part-time students, and then out-of-state students. They bring in, of course, so many more out-of-state students than we do. But we continue to watch that, and as Dr. McPhee said, we're really proud of the fact that we're really Tennessee's university. We educate the sons and daughters of the folks who live here in the state of Tennessee, and UT Knoxville makes some other choices, and that's fine, but that's not exactly who we are. We have all been watching very carefully community college transfer enrollment, so I wanted to mention that. These are our top feeder schools in terms of transfers: Motlow, Columbia State, Nashville State, Ball State, Pellissippi, and Chattanooga State. Down everywhere for us as feeders this year, except for Chattanooga State. I think that makes sense if you look at the next slide, which is this is what their enrollment looked like. So they've been dropping significantly, and since we do enroll so many transfer students, that's going to have an impact on us. So we're really focused on that as we go into the upcoming year.
So, Deb,
Yes, sir.
not to put you on the spot,
I'm on the spot.
but what holds in this looking down the road?
I'm going to talk about that.
Okay, let's go.
All right, let's do it. So these are some of the challenges ahead, and I want to talk about those challenges first to sort of set the stage. The state is looking at National Student Clearinghouse numbers, and they're watching the number of public high school graduates and the percentage of those that go on to college. And in the state of Tennessee, that is dropping dramatically from 63% in 2016 that went on to college to a little more than 52% that went on to college this past year. So a smaller and smaller percentage of our public high school graduates are choosing to go on to college. And Dr. McPhee and I have been out having luncheon with the counselors across the state as a part of the True Blue Tour, and we are hearing consistently from those counselors that as they work with students who are coming out and graduating after the years of the pandemic, that they have lost some confidence They are concerned about the cost of college as compared to what they can make right now if they go into the workforce. And so they are really working hard to get their students to go to college, but that is not always the first consideration of students that it used to be. And so what we're hearing from our counselor partners is bearing out what the national and state numbers are telling us. The ACT national data has come out for the fall, and what it tells us is that there has been some impact from the COVID years on student performance on the ACT test. It is down again for the 5th consecutive year as a national average of an ACT score. Ours this year was 22.74 as our average freshman ACT score. Last year it was 22.87, so it's down just a hair for us, as my dad would say, but that's in line with what's happening across the nation and has been happening for the past 5 years. 40% of the students who took the ACT this year met none of the ACT college readiness benchmarks. Those are minimal scores that tell us they're ready to go to college and begin to tackle college-level work, 40% of them. So that poses its own set of challenges. We are glad to see that a record number of students are still taking the ACT, so I know you've heard lots of conversation about should we still consider the ACT as a requirement for admission, because there was some thought that particularly during COVID they weren't able to take it. What the national numbers are telling us is that they are still able to take it, whether they choose to or not. And in the state of Tennessee, where we get the majority of our students, it is still a requirement. And so we have still asked students to produce ACT scores or SAT scores when they apply. If they choose not to, we have an alternative route to admit them through committee review, but we have not yet removed that as a requirement. UT Knoxville talked about removing it as a requirement and then changed their mind mid-course and reinstituted that requirement at Knoxville. And for the class of 2021, nationally, the college enrollment rate was down 2 percentage points over the previous year, according to ACT. So that paints a picture for us about what we ought to be doing as we go ahead into the new year.
Deb, do you know what the ACT average score is nationwide?
Nationally, did I not have that on that slide?
Well,
Let me
if
look.
you did, I'm sorry if you said it, I missed it.
I don't have it on this slide, but I'll get it
Oh,
for you.
I think
It's
probably have it in
around
my notes over there.
19%. The last time I saw 19, I think it's around 19.3 or 19.5%.
Okay.
Lori, you don't happen to have that back there, do you? I haven't introduced Lori Withrow, is our AVP for Enrollment Services. So although I'm often the face up here, she's the person behind it all who does all the real work. So how should we respond to this information that we're seeing and to what's happening with the freshman class? Well, one of the things we know is that we need to pay attention to our scholarships, that the dollars that we provide for student scholarships are really critically important to them. And so we did some reviewing of how our scholarship dollars stack up to the scholarship dollars of other schools here in the state of Tennessee. And we took a look at those ACT numbers, and what we came to understand was that we needed to expand sort of the entry point into our scholarship tiers. And so we have this year dropped our lowest scholarship level, which used to be a 22 to a 24, and was an award of $2,000. We've dropped that now, I'm sorry, it used to be a 23 and a 24 and $2,000. We've dropped that now to a 22 to a 24, and we've increased that from $2,000 to $3,500 a year. And we think that's going to make a big difference at the entry level. Before Alan ever lets us change those numbers, we have to go back through and do a study of how many would we have admitted this year under that benchmark, what's the cost, and we believe we will be able to recoup the additional cost of increasing the award amounts because we believe we're going to be enrolling more students in that category. So that's a key piece for us. We also raised the scholarship amount at the very top level for the highest achieving students at the 34, 35, 36 because Knoxville was beating us there, and we don't like that. So we're up to $8,000 now for those very high achieving students.
Dr. Sells, you might want to talk about how we're not really taking an unknown risk by making that adjustment, because we did that in 2019 and had the highest band and the highest package. We saw a 15% increase in our freshman enrollment, plus the ACT score had gone up from the previous year. The other universities saw what we did, so the next year, they made adjustment in their scholarship package. And so we are making the same strategic move this year. And so far, you'll hear in a moment some of the results that we're seeing for next fall.
Yeah, we take very calculated risks based on what we know to be the yield rates of certain ACT scores, the yield rate of certain scholarships this past year, and then being able to extrapolate out a little bit into next year. So we feel good about this. We're getting a good response to this out on the road while we're on the True Blue Tour. But this is now what our new scholarship bands look like, and they are, without a doubt, the most competitive in the state. So we feel really good about that going into this fall. Yes?
Cindy, why does TSU not report numbers?
Because they don't make them.
They gave away everything.
Step away from the mic.
You're talking about putting a person on the spot.
Is there not a big brother in charge?
We do have a commission, and I think it would be appropriate for us to direct that a question to THEC.
Okay.
There are a few things we've been doing that we know work, and so we're going to continue to do them. Most importantly, we need to bring prospective students to campus. We know that what makes a difference is when they set foot on the campus, and they're very quickly able to tell if this is a good fit for them. So this past year, almost 9,000 students took a campus tour. Of the seniors who toured, they beat our overall rate of enrollment, and those that came and participated in one of our big events, the preview day events, they almost doubled our rate of enrollment. They went to 57% as opposed to 30%. So we feel really good about all of our efforts to get students to campus. This fall, as of November 8th, which is when I asked the staff to pull these numbers, our tour participation is up 13.5%. We've already had almost 6,500 students tour campus this fall. Our two True Blue preview events, which are our open house events on campus, have increased participation by 51% this fall. So we've had enormous turnout at those events, and that's very good for us because students who come to campus for those events yield into enrolled students in the fall. So we're really happy about that. We also are where the students are. My staff hears me preach all the time about the importance of presence, that it's not enough to just send an email or a text message, but that you have to actually physically be where the students are to be able to talk to them and be the face of MTSU. So as of November 8th, our folks have been at 185 college fairs, made 145 personal visits to high schools and community colleges, all in the region. We have mailed out over 180,000 recruitment pieces through the U.S. Postal Service, so we keep them afloat. And we've sent out more than 1.4 million emails to students who are in our prospect list. The recruiters have, on their own, sent out almost 138,000 text messages to students, inviting students to finish a piece of their application packet or to answer a question for a student, those sorts of things. And under Lori's leadership, we've launched a new initiative this fall to try to gather direct contact information for parents. It's students who enter into our ComFlow, largely because, as I've told you before, we purchase these enormous information lists from the ACT Corporation of folks who are taking ACT and SAT tests. But those are student contact pieces, not parents. So this year we've done a lot of work to try to build a parent database so that we can also be communicating directly with parents, which we think is going to be really helpful.
How many recruiters are there?
Lori, how many recruiters?
9 freshmen.
9 freshman recruiters, 4 transfer recruiters. So that's 9 folks doing a heck of a lot of work out there. We are asking the faculty to become more and more involved in yield efforts. Yield, of course, being once we have them fully admitted to the university, so they have turned in an application, paid the app fee, sent their transcripts, sent their ACT scores, usually filed a FAFSA, and we have now fully admitted them. We're asking the faculty to help us then turn those admitted students into enrolled students in the fall. And so Mark's been working with the faculty, and Amy's been working with Mark and the faculty to try to help them understand how they can get involved with, again, that issue of presence. How do they outreach and have a direct contact with students? For instance, we just had the preview day. We had more than 500 students come to preview day 2 Saturdays ago, and we're asking the folks, the faculty who were here and met with those students, to follow up and send a note or make a phone call and say, gosh, it was so great to see you on campus last weekend. I'm going to be a contact for you. If you have questions about chemistry, if you have questions about, what kind of research you might be able to do in my lab, here's my contact information, and I want you to contact us. So we're doing a lot of work around that. Other key initiatives currently underway, this will get to your question, Trustee Baker. We are reworking some of our primary web landing pages for students. That is a constant update process, but that's necessary because students make multiple visits to our website as they go through the enrollment process, and if it looks old and stagnant, that's not a good thing. And so we are constantly updating that, and we have our friends in IT working with that. They are also helping us work toward an upgraded CRM. That's the big computer package that we feed all of these prospective students and parents into that help us manage all of those millions of emails and mailed pieces and text messages out. We just recently, as I said, began working to market more to parents. We also are working with our Intercultural and Diversity Affairs Center on campus to do more and more work, particularly with our Hispanic communities. And so I know that Thursday we have a big Hispanic tour group coming to campus. We're entering into a partnership with this group in Nashville to work on Hispanic student recruitment and retention, and that's an important number for us. So currently, in our prospect list right now, those are the numbers we're working with. We have more than 66,000 seniors in our prospect list that we're working, 10,000 juniors, and then we are also working down into sophomore and freshman prospects, because the sooner we can begin communicating with them, the better. Finally, Lori is working right now to identify a consulting group that will come in a year from now when we've had this fall's enrollment show us what happened with these scholarship changes we've made. And they can do what we call a financial aid optimization study. They will look at the changes we made in scholarships, what our enrollment was, and they'll be able to walk us through, are we using our scholarship dollars to leverage the very most enrollment we can? They're able to tell you things like, if you reduce this band a little bit and put that money into this band, you'd nudge your enrollment up 0.5% or 0.25%. They can help us understand, do we need to take some of the money out of the guaranteed scholarship pot and put it into a merit or a need scholarship pot for our very lowest income students? We were going to do that this fall, but then we made all these changes in our scholarship numbers, and we knew that their data would be no good until we get a year under our belt. So that's something that we'll be taking on next year. So where are we right now? We run the numbers, as you know, the first of every month, so December 1 will be coming soon. That is also our scholarship deadline. But our November 1 numbers show us that, again, this year, we are way up in applications and admits. So up 17% in freshman applications as of November 1, 21% in terms of freshman admits. The really good news is that our transfer numbers are starting to look up. So we were up as of November 1, 22% in our transfer applications received, and up 16% in our transfer admits. So those are really good numbers. Of course, they only translate if we can yield them. And so Dr. McPhee talks constantly, yield, 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 yield. And that's going to be really what we're looking at as we go forward. As I said, December 1 is our scholarship deadline, and we'll know a little bit more about what those numbers are going to look like when we get to December 1. But I track them weekly, and we are on track to have a good-looking December 1 report for you very soon. And now we've got the graduate studies to talk a little bit about their numbers. Dr. Dawn McCormick.
Yeah, so I'm going to focus a little bit on the graduate process and how it works. It's a little bit different than the undergrad, as well as the trends and the things that we're doing to attract students as we go along. So with graduate admissions, graduate students or potential graduate students apply to specific graduate programs. So the College of Graduate Studies works to bring applicants to those programs. Then we try to get the potential students to complete their applications. And then once those applications are complete, then we turn them over to the program, and those programs evaluate those potential students. Either it's the director of the program or it can be a committee. And the requirements for each program differs. Because the programs are trying to evaluate whether these students are going to be successful in their program or not. For some programs, the number of students we can take is almost unlimited if we know early enough and can find the faculty to teach those courses. For other programs, the numbers are capped by accreditation requirements or number of faculty and things like that. So we have a lot of different factors that we deal with. And we have early deadlines, and then we have some programs where we can take students all the way into the second week of the semester. So we market those programs appropriately depending on the various situations. So it's not just one big group of students that we're trying to then put into, a university-wide program. It's very specific to each individual program. So we work very closely with faculty, with those graduate directors who are faculty. Our relationship with them it's very, very important because we want our potential students to meet those faculty as early as possible because that's the people they're going to be working with when they are in the program. And because those relationships are fostered, that's why a lot of students come here. Our faculty are very truly student-centered, even at the graduate level, which is not true in a lot of institutions. And so we really want those connections to start early on. And also, our retention levels are very high in our programs because of that. When we are recruiting graduate students, there's a lot of things that go into account. The economy, what's going on with the job market, all of those kinds of things can impact whether students actually come in and enroll or not. And as we try to pay attention to those things, we market based on those things. And once we have a potential student, we hang on to them. So a lot of undergrad, especially traditional undergraduate students, they're looking for a place to go, and they're going to go that year. For us, we have people who contact us, and they may come this year, they may come 2 or 3 years from now, and so we want to stay in contact with them until they either tell us to stop contacting them, they tell us they've gone to another institution. Otherwise, we're going to be in contact with them every couple of months from now until they enroll. So our marketing and everything that we do to attract students is not just for the next semester. It can lead to a student down the road. And so we take that into account with our marketing as well. Let's see. I don't know if I've controlled this or not. Okay. If we look at the trends in graduate enrollment in the state of Tennessee in general, we see this curve with the numbers trending upwards currently, and our institution falls in line with this. So if you compare the two, which I'm not going to flip back and forth between them, but MTSU has seen the same sort of curve. However, our jump with COVID in 2020 was higher, and that was due to us partnering with Andrew and really getting the word out that we had options for people to take control of their destinies, to enroll and to improve their resumes and things like that as they were moving forward in the job market when there was uncertainty in COVID. So we had a lot of students enrolling in 2020, and then in 2021, we had even more students enrolling. Because of our retention efforts, we maintain those students, but now those students have started to graduate. So we no longer have that big influx of students, but we still are trending higher than we were pre-COVID, and we expect that to continue. So the things that we do to impact yield, we, again, use our partnerships with faculty and the faculty directors. Once we start to have students registering, we send weekly reports to all of the program directors with the students who have been admitted but haven't enrolled, with emails and phone numbers, and those directors then reach out to those students. We also reach out to those students over time with text messages, emails, and things like that. But those directors, they look for those lists, and if we're a day or two behind, we start getting calls because they want to know where their lists are. And so they track those students, they figure out, if they're coming, if they're not coming, why they're not coming, and relaying that information to us so we have that information as well. We really are looking at the growth of the Middle Tennessee region and people who have bachelor's degrees but might not even know Middle Tennessee State University or might not know that we have graduate programs. We want them to learn about us, learn about the options that we have. So that's a large group of students that are potential students that we go after. We also have started emailing students and parents of undergraduate students starting at the sophomore level to start to get them used to the idea of graduate school, to educate them about graduate school, and to let them know those options are available for students as they graduate their undergraduate degree. Another thing that we are working on is increasing the number of programs that we have. For an institution our size and comparing to peer institutions, we have 53 graduate programs, but I guess I can move on to this, but it's small. We have 53 graduate programs. We really should have closer to 100. We know that the online is really important for growing a graduate education, so we are working with faculty to create new programs. We did studies along with Hanover and EAB to look at opportunities for fields that we could offer graduate programs in. And so those are things that you will start to see coming through as those programs and others are developed. And let's see, and we've also got, we work with Andrew really to try to pivot our marketing to the situations that are going on, again, because a lot of our enrollment is tied to the economic situations and how we go about communicating that and the opportunities that we have to the people in our region and beyond.
Thank you.
Wonderful, great information. So questions? to
May
either-
may I just make an
Yes,
observation?
Yes.
So Deb, to your point, I totally agree that the amount of scholarship money we give is critically important. There are some tough demographic trends that you talked about there. Our transfer rate from community colleges is down because their enrollment's down significantly. The percentage of public high school graduates who are going to college is less. Just a couple observations. If somebody's choosing not to go to college, you're not going to attract them with price. So just on scholarship side, in some communities, and I'll pick Davidson County in Nashville, more than 1 in 4 school-age children go to private schools. And then there are also charter schools. So, and they are matriculating at a higher rate than the public schools. So my only observation there might be 1 in 4 in certain communities, not every community, private schools would potentially be a little bit better opportunity to supplement our yield in addition to all the things you're already doing.
Yeah, we do a lot of work with private schools. I shared the public school data because that's what's out in the national reports. That's who they look at. But A few years back, Dr. McPhee asked us to really look, particularly, for instance, at Williamson County. We were not getting enough students out of Williamson County, and so we began doing an annual luncheon with headmasters of private schools and the principals of the big ones over there. And this past fall, Williamson County was number 3 in contributing into our new freshman class. It was Rutherford County, Davidson County, Williamson County. And we had a great event there last night in
Yes.
Williamson County. But you're absolutely right. Our ability to continue to work with those private schools is really key, and it's where a bunch of the students are. And they're great students. The other group that we really do a lot of work with is homeschooled students. And we hear that a lot from counselors, that after COVID, a lot of students continued to be homeschooled once they had gone through a year or two of being online. And so Home Life Academy is sort of the umbrella organization for homeschooled students, and that's, again, one of our big feeders into our freshman class.
Excellent.
I would think it'd be a real challenge to time, reward, success. And I know you do this, but are we better off going to Kalamazoo, Michigan, or going 3 times to Williamson County? I don't have that metric in my mind, but you sow seed where the grounds are most fertile. And I'm being facetious, that's why I went that far, but I know you're looking at that. Is there some service, or is that a graduate, is that something one of our students in graduate school could do a project on? And the other one I ask is just accountability. We ask our professors to send notes. Do we have any idea how many do and how many notes they send?
Well,
So let me answer those in two different ways. First one I can answer, and that's the hard work that Lori and her recruiting staff do. They actually, in the summer, prior to going out to the schools in the fall, we look at what was our average ACT score by high school, what were the number of students we got by high school, what was our yield by high school, and then we stratify all of the high schools in the state of Tennessee according to whether they're a Tier 1, Tier 2, or Tier 3 school, and we invest accordingly. Now, that doesn't mean that if we haven't gotten a lot of students from a particular school that they're not going to hear from us, because there are schools that are sort of aspirational for us, that we haven't gotten a lot yet, but we're going after them. But that's the hard work that Lori and the recruiters do in the summer to prepare for falls, is to look exactly at that, territory by territory, high school by high school, so that we know where to invest our time.
yeah, and I'd just like to add 2 really great points by both our trustees here. I really wish sometimes we can have folks actually experience when we're out there. Last night at Williamson County, a significant number of private high school students and their parents were almost a standing room at the Marriott in Franklin. As to Deb's point, we have students, Mr. Chairman, recruiters that are full-time in those areas, really across the state. And we do have to factor in the issue of the cost. Example, UT put out a press release at the beginning of the semester that showed that they gave out this year to first-time students, freshman students, scholarships, $63 million in scholarship package. That compares with around, for institutional budget MTSU, for scholarship, about $20 million. And so balancing those 2 areas, knowing the type of students, again, that we attract, really is part of our strategy. And I would like for the university to put, particularly for that demographic group, I would like to see us work more in increasing our scholarship package for those most needy students. And in fact, made a case of that at our foundation board meeting just this past Saturday and got a good response from that.
And of course, UT's tuition's more than twice ours too, so
Nice as that.
they're giving out a lot more scholarship money, but that still doesn't mean it's a lot more expensive to go there.
Yeah, 63.
Knoxville outspends us in their institutional scholarship dollars by about 4.5 to 1. So they just have more to give to those students. But I think that we will find this fall that those new packages we have are very competitive. Knoxville doesn't even begin to scholarship students until they hit a 25 on the ACT. So anything below a 25, they get no institutional scholarships. And we'll be going hard after our bread and butter students, which are the 22s. Your second question had to do with accountability of the faculty, and Dr.
Yes.
McPhee, I'm sure, would like
Yes,
to
I'll-
speak to that.
Timely question, Mr. Chairman. The provost will tell you that he just sent to me about a day or two ago a report in which I asked each college, each department, each program to provide exactly the information that you've mentioned. Is that right, Mr. Provost?
Well, that's good. I mean, obviously, at a bank, we have an officer, he's required or she's required to make 42 some number, 40 a month, and then they say, I called on Pete and he doesn't want to bank with me, or I called on Pam and I got a deposit, or they won't return my call, or, I mean, there has to be some getting from here to there.
This is really an important discussion, and I'm really pleased that the board is spending this time with us and asking the questions and providing the suggestion. And with your permission, Madam Chair, we have one of our deans here, Greg Van Patten from Basic and Applied Sciences. His college is doing an incredible job with that, and if you would give us permission, I would like, Greg, if you can come and just give a couple of brief overview of what you're doing with your colleges, because it
Please.
will give you a good sense of what's happening and some of the accountability measures that we have in place. He's a dean, so he should be able to come up impromptu and be outstanding.
Good morning. Just very briefly, some of the things that we're doing is making sure that we do reach out to those students who are do come to campus, attend our events. We are breaking into relatively small groups, department by department, so that those students, when they're on campus, have intimate personal interaction with the chairs of the department that they're going to be in. We, as Dr. Sells mentioned earlier, really do believe that the person-to-person contact is very important, especially for an institution like ours, where we really hang our hat on the services that we give to the students and how much we care about the students. So we want to reflect that right up front. We can't do that if we shuffle them like cattle through a process. So we make sure that our folks are there, ready to talk and engage the students and answer the questions that they have. And then, as I said, we do follow up with emails, with postcards, with letters after that process.
You know, my guess is that for the colleges that are really successful in that way, that also the graduating rate would be a higher percentage because the engagement starts so early, and that's what it's all about, I think, for graduation.
We've seen that correlation.
Thank you, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, any other discussion? That's a great discussion, great information. Athletics report, Chris Massaro, he is on his way.
Thanks, and I hope you all notice our different presentation styles where Mark did his own, Deb brings the computer. I brought Lee DeLeon to run it from the bar, so I think I know my abilities, yes, I know my technical abilities. I want to do really just two quick updates for you guys, and I think that hopefully you read last week that the Conference USA signed a new television contract, and we as a conference are very excited about the contract itself. When we met with our people that negotiated the TV contract and with the conference administration, the presidents and athletic directors were pretty unified in terms of what we wanted out of the TV deal. We wanted, first of all, we wanted our fans not to have to really search for our online games. In the past, we were on Facebook and Stadium and a little bit on Conference USA TV and some on ESPN Plus. So it was always a challenge for our fans to find our games. And then the second piece is that consolidation and then the branding that comes with that. And feel like in the sports world, it's important for us to be on ESPN, and to have a better relationship with ESPN, both linear and their digital offerings. And then the third really piece of that is increased exposure. And those were the most important things for us going into the negotiations. And we really took the attitude, if the revenue's flat, that could be a win. And so as it turns out, we hit the market at a good time. We have a good product. We were able to really accomplish all three of those things. There's going to be two carriers of our games, CBS Sports and ESPN. And that's going to be really good for us. Anything that's not on linear television, which is the normal thing that you get when you're clicking through, it's over-the-air broadcast, our digital offerings will all be on ESPN Plus. So our fans only have to subscribe to really one subscriber service rather than multiple that they've had to do in the past to be able to get our games. The exposure on our linear broadcasts have increased by 20% in the next contract, and then the revenues that we'll receive have increased 70%. So we view this as a win-win. One of the key parts of this was to move our October football games to midweek. And so what we will see is Tuesday and Wednesday night games across Conference USA on CBS Sports and on ESPN, and those will be linear broadcasts. That does several things for us, and it's always a mixed bag when you have some of that change, but some of the real advantages of this is it gives us clean air. That we'll be the only college football games kind of on TV at that time. If you'll note, like our homecoming game this year was against Western Kentucky. I think it was on October 21st, and that was the same date that UT is playing Alabama. And it turned into one of the biggest national game of the year, where game day goes to Tennessee and those kind of things. So it becomes very difficult to compete with media attention and those kind of things. So to remove ourselves from a couple of those Saturdays, wherever that big game is we have a chance for clean air. And we're very pleased about that. When we had those midweek games in the Sun Belt Conference, our student attendance was basically double what it was on a Saturday. So it offers better opportunities for student engagement. So some of the things that we talked about online and how do we engage students and those kind of things, this is a key piece. And we're excited about that. It does create some hardships having midweek games, both for some of your fan base and for the campus community itself. But we've worked through those before and feel like that we can deal with those issues, and the benefits outweigh the possible drawbacks. So I'll pause right there and see if there's any question on the TV contract, because it's a big deal for us in Conference USA. Okay, then the next thing, and my wingman is over there, is I want to talk to you a little bit about Bill Blue and give you a progress report on it. And fundraising-wise, we've cracked the 17 million mark, and so the fundraising's still ongoing. It's still very successful. I hope you've driven by the tennis courts and you've seen the bulldozers, and I should say the ex-tennis courts, because they no longer exist. It's just a flat surface. It's not even a pile of rubble anymore. And what was it, 22 dump trucks of material hauled that stuff away, and so that's already happened. We're hoping that facility will be complete by early fall next year, and we'll be in there and have a quality outdoor tennis facility for our men's and women's program. And we're very excited. So that's sort of our lead opportunity in the Build Blue. And then the Student Athlete Performance Center, which we're just now finishing our design documents. And once the design documents are done on November 14th, then they go to the construction document phase. So really the design is 99.9% locked in right now. So I'll show you a couple of pictures of what this will look like. This is the view as you would see it coming from really the corner of the Murphy Center over by the existing Hall of Fame. What you see is that first glass area is going to be our weight room area, and we've got an agreement to name the weight room after a benefactor, so there will be an exciting announcement on it a little bit later in the calendar year. And then what you see is the big, it's a 3-story building, and so what you see is an atrium that'll look very similar to the new concrete management building. The new classroom building has this kind of atrium as well. I think the science building does, so it kind of fit into the campus motif of this. And that's also been named, and we're excited about its naming. It's after Tommy and Judy Smith and the Smith family. And on the first floor, you'll have the weight room for all student athletes. You'll have a training room that'll serve all student athletes, equipment room on there, and then the football locker room will also be on the first floor. And on the second floor will be, let's keep it at that one, maybe. And the second floor will be coaches' offices, meeting rooms, and those kind of things for football. And then the third floor will be basically a premium area where we'll also be able to feed student athletes occasional meals and those kind of things up there. So it's a multi-purpose area. So this exterior view really looks from our practice fields. So it's the opposite side of what you just saw. So that's from the practice area and the track as the view on the building. And this would be what the interior view from inside the stadium will look like. We'll take off the north upper deck. That'll be demolished, and then you'll see this view, which we think will really enhance the game day experience for all. And you'll note basically the two things on the edge with the MT, where Lee's pointing out, thank you, sir, where those are outdoor suites. And they'll have a capacity of 32 people and those kind of things. So it's larger than any offering we have. We believe that there's a market for companies and people like that will host large events. So there's 2 of those, one on each end. And then the center is what I described is basically our premium area, and where you'll see that row of glass. The area, what this will do is attach itself right to the current concourse of the north end zone. So that second floor will be attached to it, and those series of windows that Lee's pointing out right there are our coaches' offices. So they'll have an interior view of the stadium during the week, and obviously there will be pedestrians walking back and forth on game days, but the coaches won't be in their offices, so we hope they're on the field doing the right play calling, and so we don't feel like that's much of a thing. One of the things that we can do is connect this building to the existing concourse and set up towards the area that looks out towards the practice fields, like this outdoor living area and for recruiting and whatnot. So it was big for us to connect the building to that concourse and how it works. So I think what I'd like to do is, and this is going to be Lee's big test, is that we got this neat little program from the architects where we can fly through and see what the third floor looks like. So when you come off the elevator, this is what you're going to see. You're going to walk down this hallway, and then it'll open up, and what you'll see to the right is basically those outdoor suites that I described. And you can see the backs of the chairs there and kind of where he's pointing out. And then when you turn to the left, man, he's good. Isn't he good? He's over there. Thank goodness I'm not having to do that. And when you turn to the left, you see what the club level will look like, and the bank of windows and the buffet line that we see there. And then there will be a built-in bar area that will serve on game days some spirits, and then on weekdays that'll be an area for soft drinks and those kind of things for our student athletes. And then when you walk through the rest of the building, the rest of that concourse, you'll hit the other suite on the other side. There's ample storage and whatnot on the back, and that's the view you'll get from those windows. Oh yeah, that's right. Thank you. Now we're going to go into the suite. We're excited about these two suites because they offer something that we don't offer currently, and that's as I said, a 32-seat capacity that is going to be a great view. Part of our phase one of this project, or sequence one, is the video board. We'll have a brand new video board on the other end, so you'll get, this area will get a tremendous view of the video board and whatnot. And we note how Murfreesboro skyline and our university skyline has improved in these documents as well. So, all right, and I think if we kind of, because we probably need to be cognizant of time, if we go look at some of the exterior kind of on this flyby as well, so it can give a little sense of what I was talking about when we go out the doors and how it connects to some concourses and whatnot. So while he's kind of teeing that up, we're hoping to break ground, looking for dates in January. The demolition will start in early spring. Hopefully, we're shooting for a March date where we'll demolish our weight room and we'll demolish that upper deck. So you'll see activity there very shortly. The reason March is a good month for us is it gets us through a basketball season without some disruption over there. We've got to navigate the disruption of the weight room, relocate it, those kind of things. We don't want to be without a weight room for any kind of period of time for the development of our student athletes. So we think March is when you'll really see the visible stuff. There's a lot of things going on right now, but March is when you'll see the visible stuff. This is yes, Lee? And so this is the view kind of that you get from the stadium. And if we can kind of, good point there. And then I think if we go to, let's go to see that, is there the outdoor living area then down that area, down that path, and we'll show just that exterior view of kind of how it's all hooked together. Yeah, that's the main entrance. As you come into the stadium, there will be a stairwell that'll take people directly to that concourse. But the entrance that currently exists at the ground level will be untouched. And so, to give you a point of reference, the Murphy Center, as you look at this photo, will be to the left. This is kind of on that main concourse and what it'll look like as that urban walkway that we're going to develop. That'll be one side of it. And the proposed hotel will be kind of off on the horizon a little bit, kind of where Lee's pointing the cursor on that. So I think that in interest of time, that's probably, we've got more to show, but I think that we probably just call it right there and answer some questions, if you have any questions.
Discussion, questions?
Is there a pathway from the hotel to the stadium?
Yeah, sidewalk, yeah. It's not enclosed, but it'll be very, very close.
All right, thank you, Chris. Anything
Okay.
else?
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Well, I just looked at my watch. I realize we are way over, so I apologize for that, but I think it's been an absolute fabulous meeting, great input, great information, and with that, the meeting is adjourned.